Please pray with me. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. Have you ever found yourself wishing life had a pause button so you could catch your breath and think things through? I've always wanted that for Palm Sunday. There's a frenzy to Palm Sunday, and I've always wanted to just hit the pause button. We begin gloriously with the blessing of the palms, usually outside, and the singing of all glory, laud, and honor. We celebrate the moment when the church and the people of Jerusalem recognized that Jesus was, well, special. Some recognized him as Lord. Some suspected he might be the Messiah. Some thought he was just a political leader. But the palm part of Palm Sunday celebrates that one moment when, after a lifetime of being misunderstood, Jesus is finally acclaimed as something. In a cartoon, this would be the moment when little light bulbs go on over the heads of all the Jews in Jerusalem. And when I have those little light bulb moments in my own life, I always want to hit the pause button because I need time for reflection, time to let the pieces fall into place so I can figure it out. Aha, I say. If the prophecy about the Messiah of Jesus going into Jerusalem worked out, then maybe those other prophecies will work out. And if those other prophecies are working out, then maybe we don't get a chance to catch our breath on Palm Sunday. We go straight from the glory and praise of the triumphal entry to Jesus' arrest, trial, Peter's betrayal, and the Passion. We go from the joyful waving of palm fronds to the bone-chilling cry to crucify him, and Peter's, I do not know the man. We go from all glory, laud, and honor, almost all the way to, ah, holy Jesus, how have I offended? And I never liked that about the way the Episcopal Church celebrates Palm Sunday. And many, many years ago, I swore that if I ever had the chance to do it differently, I would. After all, I could look at my Bible and point out that Luke and Mark both say that after Jesus rode into Jerusalem, he basically turned right around and rode back out. Spent a few more days teaching the disciples and the people before coming back for the Passover, having a final meal with his friends, and then being betrayed, arrested, denied, and crucified. Why can't we break things up? Have a little moment to reflect. So I once shared these sentiments with a priest friend of mine who, amazingly, felt the same way I did. And he told me that the reason he thought we compress everything is because a lot of people don't have the opportunity to come to church on Good Friday. He said the only chance that they might have to hear the Passion during Holy Week would be on Palm Sunday. But that doesn't quite seem to be a good enough answer to me. And so I continue to think that if given the chance, I would break things up and celebrate the Palm and the Passion on different days, so that I and others would have the opportunity to reflect. This year, I've come to see the other side of the argument. And like all good coming to see other sides of things, it took a fair bit of pausing and reflecting, because the answer came to me in pieces. So there was the one piece of the travel nurse that came to my class, the class that's going to China in a few weeks, and told us what to do to prepare to go to China and what to do to stay safe in China. Stay away from stray dogs, Eat food that has been thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly cooked. And be very careful of crowds, she said, because crowds are unpredictable. If we found ourselves in a crowd, we were warned, we should all sort of try to stay on the sides and try to figure out an escape plan. That was the first piece. Then there was the piece that sort of came to me as I've been watching the news over the last couple of months and seen footage after footage after footage of peaceful demonstrations or mournful funeral processions suddenly, abruptly, turning very violent. And the last piece came to me in a sermon that I listened to at school about a man who had, in the 19th century, who had founded an Episcopal church in New York City. And this church had been used as a station on the Underground Railroad. As the country was moving towards civil war, one day in the middle of New York City, there arose a mob that was coming down the street, threatening to bang down the door of the church, looking for escaped slaves, planning to lynch them. And this priest stood at the door of the church with a cross and basically told the crowd they were Satan. At this point, the preacher of this sermon paused to remind us all of the story in the Bible where Jesus faces the demon called Legion, because the demon was a crowd. Crowds can be dangerous. Crowds can be demonic. And so now, I've come to wonder if maybe the point of the Palm Sunday liturgy is that we're supposed to notice that quick transition, the absence of a pause button. Maybe the point of all we do today is to get us to move from adoration to execution at a speed that makes your head swim. Maybe there's good reason we don't have time to stop and think. Maybe the point is to try to think about the times we find ourselves following a crowd without stopping to think. And so now I don't know how I feel about Palm Sunday anymore. I learned last year that the Anglican Church in New Zealand actually does Palm Sunday the way I'd always wanted to do Palm Sunday. They've got one Sunday that is just Palm Sunday. They've got one Sunday that is Passion Sunday. And they have separate beautiful liturgies for every day and Holy Week to boot. And so I realized that someday, not too long from now, I might be in a position where I might be able to use that liturgy in a church instead of the prayer book liturgy from Palm Sunday that we use now. And I would be able to relish for one whole week that verse, "To whom the lips of children made sweet hosannas ring." I would have a whole week to enjoy that before I had to contemplate, it was denied me. But now I have to wonder, if given the chance to break up the two, would I? Because if both hymns are equally true, maybe Palm Sunday is the time to wonder how that could be. How do we move from one to the other? Think about it when you get the chance.